Oh, well, it is. I think it'd be okay.
It is what it is. I don't know if I ever told you this.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I literally just saw someone pick one of these up the other day and it sell it for $40.
Yeah. It's got
And then he said he sold other ones for like 60 to 80, but the one he had a rip for 40.
Yeah, that one's got some value for sure. I don't know what they are.
I'm wondering like why. It's not even like
it's an old one.
It looks like shit.
Yeah, that's what they look like.
Yeah.
It's Comedy Central from the 90s, dude. Their shit was crap.
They look the same now, just the animation's slightly better, but it's pretty much
way better. Even their stuff's better. I mean, the t-shirts...
Is that weird? South Park, I think, is funnier now than it was then.
Oh, yeah.
Last few years.
They could be funnier. They could be, like, instant.
Yeah. So, yeah. VHS. Talking some VHS today.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Culture Junkies. Today we're going to be talking about VHS.
VHS tapes. The good old VHS. We still pick them up now.
Yeah, I'm actually still a collector of VHS tapes. I pretty much never stopped. Kind of picked up heavier in the last couple years as I've been at more thrift stores and pawn shops and flea markets, things like that. So as I'm picking up video games, music, the next thing I'm pretty much looking for is VHS.
Yeah, I mean, I sold all of mine off a few years ago, but I just started like picking some stuff up, but I've limited pretty much to just video game stuff. I've got a few other things mixed in, but I mean, some of it's like super nostalgic. So like the other day, actually pretty current, I found my copy of TMNT 3, my original copy that I actually used to rent out as a kid and then later bought from the store, and I thought I lost it, so I found it the other day.
Yeah, see, that's my favorite part about like when it comes to VHS is like, as you can tell, like the selections that I picked and that you picked, you're not going to see a lot of like some sealed like really expensive VHS, because like that seems to be kind of the craze at this point is like sealed VHS or like really rare
it's
stuff.
So boring to me. Sealed VHS, boring.
But it's pretty much like sealed video games. It's like
boring.
I have a couple sealed VHS. I'm not going to grade them or anything like that.
I mean, I've got a few sealed too, but not like intentionally sealed.
Yeah, exactly. I've picked up a bunch of lots in the last couple months to where like I will keep the sealed stuff, but it's not like really cool stuff. It's just like I have it just because it's like half the time I like the stickers that are on them, like the price tags and stuff, because you're talking about like some of the VHS that I've picked up have like $50, $80 price tags on them because that's how much they cost when
they were expensive.
Yeah, that's like later in one of the VHS that I want to talk about. It's like that was kind of the point, was the price point. Was like back in the day, everything was super expensive. Like there weren't Best Buys and places like that you can just walk into and get a VHS. You had to like literally go to somebody that would order them. Mm-hmm. And they were expensive because like literally like a video game renting place or a video store that would rent, you're talking about they would have to pay a ton of money to the studios. They would have accounts like with MGM and Paramount and stuff like that. And when they got a VHS, they were paying a ton of money because they had to rent them out.
Yep.
And they were getting that. They would have to get their money back by renting them out.
Yep.
So if like you wanted,
they got ruined all the time.
And if you wanted to have it yourself, sure, pay $180 for this VHS and it's yours.
Yep. Yeah. Home video was just expensive in general for a long. It seemed like every format started super pricey. Like, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know how much you were into it back in the day, but anime VHS tapes, holy God, it was not unheard of for around the time that a tape now may have cost you like $20 new. An anime tape would still be like $100, and that was like the norm. To be like $100 with 3 episodes on it generally. Sometimes they only had 2.
Yeah, I had a friend.
Dragon Ball Z tapes.
I had a friend that was really big in anime, and he would spend his entire paycheck on. They were so expensive, and like you said, there was like 2 episodes, 3 episodes on a VHS tape, and it was like $50, $60, $70.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they were outrageously expensive, and I also remember this. Our local rental store, before we even got Blockbuster in town, that was like a big deal, but that was later. So like our local smaller Star Time Video, you had to pay extra on your membership. Like you could get a membership, or the rentals were more expensive for anime tapes than they were for anything else. Yeah, so if you did their like membership that they had, which was very costly, I'm trying to remember exactly, but something like $40 a month or something. You get like a certain amount of rental, yeah, or unlimited rentals, and then there was like cheaper plans, or you could just straight out, do the $4.99 for 3 days or whatever, Like there was all kinds of, they could price it at whatever they wanted to price it at. For us, there was no other rental competitor until Blockbuster came along. But yeah, those anime tapes, yeah, they were additional, so they were more expensive to rent out. And then even with the DVDs, once they got DVDs, or they would sometimes import them, and importing at the time was incredibly expensive.
Yeah, anime most of the time was Japanese stuff, so most of it was imported. So I got how a lot of it was expensive because it was like,
yeah,
well, this thing is coming from Japan, and a lot of stuff didn't even have subtitles. It was like it was just it was you couldn't even play, you couldn't understand what they were saying.
Yeah,
but as they were like coming out in America, they were still pretty expensive, but it wasn't until after more and more and more of them came out that it was just a lot cheaper.
I mean, like, right now, even anime, Blu-rays, and DVDs now, like, current stuff, like, I have not kept up with it for a long time, but I know people that do and have continued to do so. It's still incredibly expensive.
Yeah, it definitely can still be pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's still, for a series or something that's not like, the prime like thing that's on right now, like a Naruto or, even other than that. Like for new stuff, new releases, these companies, they still charge a lot for some of those. So
yeah, I know when I'm going through like movies at like Goodwills and yard sales and things like that, I'll scan a lot of times. It's just out of habit. I'll scan the prices of the anime because I like.
I always do. Yeah.
Like
always.
Growing up, like going to so many video game stores and video traders and things like that. The prices of some of these things. So it's like I literally have. But there's been many times where I've scanned through like 20 anime DVDs, and there's like one that will sell for $50.
Yep.
But then all the other ones sell for $5.
Yeah, like out of print things, something that never got like another release or. There was like a rights issue. There's a lot of that with anime, so I think it's pretty, of the norm for me if I see something anime, especially if I'm not familiar with it, to scan it. If it's something I've never heard of at all, there's a bigger chance it might be worth some money.
Yeah, and some of like the really weird stuff too is like the screeners.
Yep. Yeah, screener copies.
Those are some of the things that have like for some reason have like gone way up in price.
I didn't know that they always held some sort of value. But I didn't know it was like significant.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I'm starting to go through some of them at VHS because I never separated them, and I'm trying to remember which ones I have that are demo or screener copies because I have them mixed in with kind of my collection. And it's like I'll start like I'll look something up or something, I'll come across like an auction or a listing or something like that, and I'm like, good to know. I'm pretty sure that's what I have too, so maybe I should probably separate that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we all know you're a scummy reseller.
Yeah, absolutely. I've sold 0 VHS. My problem is like, I don't want to know how much it is, because as far as I know, they're only worth like a couple bucks. So unless I scan the ones that I have, they're just a couple bucks. Because if I scan something and it comes up with a lot of money, I'm going to feel really bad keeping it on the shelf. Like, not even on the shelf, literally on the floor.
Yeah.
Upstairs in my loft, like in an area that we don't use.
Man, it's crazy because not even that long ago, dude, VHS, unless it was like something horror and like super obscure that never got released on it, they never held value. Like they were a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
VHS tapes had dropped down. I mean, at one point in time, they were like a quarter at Goodwill, and like they couldn't get rid of them. And there's still a lot of them that don't have any value.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of them that still have like, they're paperweights for all they could be. But
a couple of the ones that like we picked up here in the like our choices don't have a ton of value. Like,
right.
And a lot of that has to do with like if like I just go off like my first pick, which is The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Like this is on VHS, this is on DVD, this is on Blu-ray, and it's on 4K. It's in the $5 bin at Walmart. It's on TV. It's on streaming services. It's on TBS. I mean, it's on everything. But to me, it's just like one of my absolute favorite movies. And the fact that it's in the clamshell, which you don't see a ton of, because this was released multiple times in just the regular VHS release.
Yep.
So you had like the hard box stuff, and so like you're talking about like that old school like clamshell case that they use. Reminds you of like the Disney stuff.
Yep.
But like as you can see, MGM used it. There were some Pokemon releases that were in it.
Yep. All the movies were in those.
Yeah, Digimon, some anime stuff was so like you basically, when you see something like this, you almost assume it's gonna be a kids thing, but then not always. All the wrestling VHS that I grew up watching.
It seemed to be more than not that it was movies that would be in clamshell.
Yeah.
I can't remember much of like series, like TV series or like episodes being in those. I just know like for Pokemon and Digimon, as you mentioned, it's always the movies. Now, however, I do have a Digimon, the first 3 episodes, and a clamshell still that I had back in the day. But
yeah, these things are pretty awesome. Like
they're cool.
They're real nostalgic. Like the
take up more space if you're collecting, but
that's part of the problem. Is like they're
one reason I do not collect VHS, actively or anything, is they do take up some space.
Yeah, and thankfully right now I kind of have a space upstairs in my loft that's like unused. So like for now they're kind of just there. But the goal is to here pretty soon is to go like some shelving up on the wall so I can actually put them out. And I'm gonna go through my collection. You
have a space to go up there just to watch all your movies.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal.
Like a little hangout spot.
That's the goal, is to have another hangout spot, kind of mostly because I want to get my son out of my office playing the PS5 upstairs and away. So we're gonna move his Xbox out into that room. But like I need to put shelving up, and mostly because I need to go through my VHS so bad, because I've been collecting them for like a good 6 years, kind of like, you know, to where I had a whole bunch growing up, but I grew up in a house of smokers, so I didn't really keep a lot of the ones that I had.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Because they got ruined. Like anything that was white became yellow.
Got completely yellow.
Yeah. The tape itself, a lot of times got just like
degraded.
So like I don't have a ton of ones from when I was a kid. So they've been pretty much all just recollecting them for like the last few years, heavily in the last couple. But there's some, the collection's kind of getting out of hand. They're all out of order. I know for sure they have some duplicates. But I also need to slim down the collection because they take up too much real estate and they're just adding up and adding up.
And I mean, how often do you get time to really get to sit down and watch all? There's, more than you probably would care to keep, I would say. There's a lot of filler stuff.
So I need to go through a lot of the ones that I have, because I also have a ton of DVD and I have a ton of Blu-ray. The DVDs, I've gotten to the point where I had to remove all the cases because they take up too much room.
Yeah.
So I have them all in these like pressed down, real slim, cases, and then they're in boxes, and I barely ever go through them.
Yeah.
I pull like a movie out every couple weeks to go through. Recently I pulled out Little Monsters. But yeah, they take up too much real estate, and I need to kind of slim down the collection, and I really need to get them up on the wall.
So is this a video where we're talking about slimming down the game collection? We're selling off most of the game collection.
So that'd be great, selling off most of my VHS collection, except for when you're selling off, video games.
But you got on multiple systems or formats. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got on multiple formats. We got it on the collection here. We can play it on the Switch. Sorry.
That's exactly
we can
right.
Play it on Netflix. Do we really need the?
Well, so I'm not. See, I don't rely on Netflix.
Oh, okay. He's one of those guys. All right.
See, I don't rely on Netflix and streaming services for something I want to watch because, what if it's not there? What if it goes
That was
away?
the argument of hoarding for many years for me. Very argument, and then eventually I found when it came to watching media, not games, watching media, they never got watched because I didn't even have time to watch Netflix. And if
Yeah,
I
see.
did watch something, it ended up being something that was exclusive to Netflix. They were like, oh, this is the new thing, everybody's talking about. Let's check that out.
Yeah, so like I do this thing where like I like to put movies on, like because I run out of YouTube videos and things like that kind of often. So I'll put a movie or two on.
Really? There's new videos every day.
I know, right?
Daily content.
But when you're like, if you're using that daily content as your background while you're working 9 hours, you can kind of run out every single day. Like I run out of stuff in like 3 or 4 hours usually every single day, and so it's at least a movie or two a week, if not more.
That's why you never get anything done. You're always listening to and watching the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this guy somehow sees everybody's videos all the time. He could quote them by word.
I could probably quote it by word.
Yesterday's video.
I can't usually tell you always what I've seen on them because...
Yeah, no, I do the listening a lot.
So I'm working and I have this thing where literally like I have 2 screens and both my eyes are on my screens for work. But for audio, I always have like...
Yeah.
It also makes me feel better because I like work alone. And it feels better when people are talking, that it's more like an office and like there's people around, things like that. So when it comes to like YouTube content, when it's just like 1 or 2 people talking, that's kind of like one of my things I put on the background.
Interesting.
But one of the things I also do is put on movies.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put in a movie that I like want to see, essentially, like something new.
Yeah, something you really want to watch. Like...
Yeah, I'm not going to put on like the Mario movie because I'm not going to get any work done.
Yeah.
But I am going to put on like something classic, something like the Princess Diaries.
Yeah. You mean shut up? Hey, I liked that movie back in the day. I don't care what anybody says. I watched the second one too.
I don't know. Lost steam in the first one. Like the second one was like, yeah.
I don't remember much about the second one, but that first one I watched a lot with my sister. So, hey, I don't care, man. Whatever her name was, that actor. What's her name?
I don't know.
Gosh, I
the
forget.
brunette.
Yeah. She was in a lot of stuff during that time.
She was in that Batman movie.
Yeah. Is she?
She's in.
Oh yeah, she is. You're right.
She's like Catwoman.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was
her name.
Her name. Yeah, that was her name. But we picked out a few things to talk about. So you brought up already, Princess Bride, kind of, sort of. Actually, you didn't really talk about the movie.
Yeah. So the movie itself.
Warwick Davis is in that one.
One of my favorite parts is Warwick Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's he playing this?
The the little guy. Obviously, I'm not sure where
There's no little guy in that.
And Princess Bride? Yes, there is. Warwick Davis is in this. I'm telling you. Right there. Warwick Davis.
Huh.
Man, I thought he was in this. Huh. What's the... Oh! It's not Princess Bride. It's the one where they made the NES game on it, too. But it has a similar sort of...
Schindler's List.
God, you're the worst. No, they actually just made a new series for the movie I'm thinking of.
Is that with Willow?
Yes, Willow, yeah.
Jesus Christ. So this movie where Andre the Giant plays the my gosh, so that you're like talking about a little person.
I was thinking
opposite.
Yes, that's exactly, but no, seriously though, that is the key. I was actually thinking of Andre the Giant. So
yeah.
I was mixing them up.
I was mixing up.
It's been a long time since I've seen both, so.
Would you like a peanut? This movie is just absolutely awesome. One of my favorite parts about this is the fact that I used to watch this all the time when I was homesick.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the movie, whoever the guy that plays Columbo, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And he's playing like the grandpa to Fred Savage, who's like homesick.
Oh yeah.
And so,
gosh, I forget his name.
Yeah. So like this movie is basically like the grandpa is reading a story,
mm-hmm.
The Princess Bride, to his grandson,
mm-hmm.
and it's like a love story between Wesley and what the heck's the girl's name? Yeah,
Keira Knightley.
Yeah, I just remember her. So Peter Falk is Columbo.
Yeah.
But Wesley is like the knight, the Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
It's a love story where they get separated, and he like spends like goes through a bunch of trials and tribulations to kind of get back to her. He comes across like a guy with a sword who's like, my name is Otto Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yep.
Andre the Giant's in it, and he was only in a few movies.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. The fact that he's in it.
The fact that he was able to keep it together to act is also shocking because you know how he was behind the scenes.
Yeah, Rob Reiner, I think, he directs this movie.
Yep.
Billy Crystal is in it.
It's Bob Reiner, isn't it? Yeah, Bob
Yeah,
Reiner.
maybe for you, it's Rob.
Is it Rob Reiner?
It might be Bob for you.
It is Rob Reiner.
It's definitely Rob for everybody
You're
else.
the worst.
And we, Bill Crystal was in it.
Yeah, okay. Real funny. Next thing you know, he's going to say Billy Mitchell was in it, too. So now I picked up... Now, this isn't like... I didn't pick out a particular tape, but just to talk about the Power Ranger tapes back in the day. These were classic because, if we missed an episode, like, it wasn't until, if you got the rerun... There were so many... I don't know if you remember. There are so many Mighty Morphin episodes.
Oh,
There's 4 seasons. The first season has, like, over 120 episodes.
Oh, I can believe it. There was a ton.
Yeah, it's like insane. So if you missed an episode, you're pretty much screwed. So like to get back to, actually watching them, like tapes were the way I watched a lot of episodes. There would be all the time like I would get one of the tapes and like I had never even seen any of the episodes and we're past like Mighty Morphin at that point. Like I remember going back renting tapes when Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers came out. In between Zeo.
Yeah,
Zeo. So I remember renting the tapes out. Always episodes I never saw. Some crazy, suited villain in it. Every episode. But these were especially nostalgic because that mini-series with Green Ranger before he was the White Ranger. So it was kind of a big deal. Man, do you remember the pre-Fifth Ranger episodes?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
They were kind of lame. They were kind of not as great.
No,
they were kind of not as great. I wouldn't say they were lame because like the very first start of Mighty Morphin, I was into it right then, so I didn't think it was lame, but it was definitely different. It was a whole other dynamic, and especially with, the fact that the White Ranger was exclusive to here. So in Japan they didn't have the White Ranger. There was no White Ranger there. So like the Tokusatsu version in Japan never had the White Ranger. So when they started incorporating that, then we started getting some original stuff of those Rangers in the other suits.
Yep. Because
before that we had none. So like, we didn't know as kids that like, wow, like these guys actually aren't doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like all they did was what they did outside.
Why is the Pink Ranger a female but the Yellow Ranger isn't?
Yeah.
That was always a good one.
It was weird. It was always really weird. It was also cool too, man, because like going back since we lost Trini back in the day, and then recently, obviously, Jason David Frank. But going back and when they did they've done a lot of reunion episodes.
Did you watch the reunion thing yet?
I have not, which is kind of sad because Power Rangers is one of my favorite things ever.
Same.
And it's really makes me sad that I haven't done that yet because. Like, I was still keeping up with Power Rangers until just, 2020. Like, I was actively collecting, Power Ranger stuff. Like, even new stuff. With my brother. It was something we were kind of doing together before he left for Australia. So we were still collecting all the new Megazords that came out. Like, we were super, super deep into it. So it makes me kind of sad that I haven't. But also, since we lost him, it makes it a little, kind of rough for me. I looked up to him forever, dude.
Yeah, he's kind of in it.
From what I hear.
Excuse me. Sorry. I should have brought my water over. That did.
Grab your water.
Yeah.
But it made it a little rough, and I've just not gone back. Plus, not having the Pink Ranger in it, and her apparently behind the scenes stuff that I still don't fully understand all of. She's talked a little on social media about it, but I saw her just break down when Jason David Frank passed, and that was just heartbreaking. And she was talking about a little bit about the reunion stuff, and then before that heard that he wasn't in it at all, before it released on Netflix, and it was all very confusing to me. But I do gotta watch it at some point, and I am looking forward to doing that. But these are just super nostalgic. All the MMPR tapes, really all this stuff going back to anything Power Rangers that was still on tapes was pretty, Turbo, the Power Rangers movie,
Yeah, I remember going to the movies and seeing
Yep.
what 2 movies, right?
Turbo was in the theater.
So was the other
And
one.
yeah, the
Mine were from Power Rangers.
the movie was in theaters, and then Turbo. So yeah, going to theater, watching both of those were kind of monumental.
The news.
Turbo was just a long Power Rangers episode. It was literally episode 1 for Turbo.
Yes.
Like literally. That's what it was. You had to watch the movie to get the start of
I think
the
they
show.
did they end up breaking it up to put on this
Yeah,
movie?
they did. Yeah, they broke up the movie. What a weird move.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Yeah, that's still weird to me, but
Yeah, we're just gonna break this up into 4 individual episodes and just call this,
a
part
movie.
of this season.
Yeah, weird. But
All right,
definitely
so
classic.
my next pick, I'm gonna pick up something that
yeah.
it's not even my favorite, really, to be
Snoochie
honest. In
Boochie.
it, but it was it's one I had like kind of readily available here. Is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Kevin Smith, his movies when Clerks came out in the mid '90s just was absolutely amazing, a game changer. It was a director and a writer that was like not just saying dirty words, but was talking.
Yeah.
And he would like his films were filled with just tons and tons of dialogue, lots and lots and lots of dialogue, and it was absolutely funny because the character he plays in all of his movies is Silent Bob, and he's a guy that if you've like ever heard anything from him, he never shuts up, like ever.
Yeah.
He talks and talks and talks.
A lot.
That's why his movies have just so much talking in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way he acts, and that's the way he talks, that's the way he thinks, that's the way he works.
Like in real life, he's
This movie, I got to actually see Studio 35 here in Columbus, Ohio, where they did like a showing with Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith. So
was it the anniversary thing?
It was just like it was right after the theater had opened essentially. And it was like the weekend of the opening for Studio 35. I can't remember which.
Yeah, I still haven't been there.
Which Avengers movie came out at the time?
It was Civil War.
It was one of those first
one
Avengers movies. Basically came out and they redid the theater and they were like blowing out people's eardrums. It was so loud, and so we got to go actually see this movie and it was great because it was super freaking loud. But like if you know anything about this movie, it's not like an action packed all the way through. So it's not like an Avengers movie. And it was just like live and in your face.
Yeah. Did you get to see that tour they did? The Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah. Get Old.
Yeah. You got to watch it.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was pretty good. That might have been.
They did a ton of touring for that.
Yeah.
They came through Columbus more than once and everything.
This is like it became like kind of one of their towns.
Yeah. It was like and it like essentially became like a live podcast basically. Like it became like a thing that they did for like a long time. It's since been retired, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, what he would do is he would like get super baked out in the alley, watch his movie for 2 hours, and then talk for like 2 hours.
So you like baked bread in the alley and they came in and
pumpernickel, banana nut, and wheat.
Zucchini bread?
No,
okay.
We don't like zucchini bread.
We don't. If you watch the first episode, you know that.
But Jay and Silent Bob, what it is they're going after like somebody who's like sold the rights to Jay and Silent Bob to their characters, and they're going to make a movie.
Yep.
So they're going to Hollywood to stop it, and this movie is filled with like tons of their favorite, like their friends.
Yep.
Like if you know anything about Kevin Smith, he has like Jason Mewes, Ben Affleck,
lots of friends.
A lot of people that kind of like started early on, and they're in this movie. This is also has like Will Ferrell, Jason Biggs, James Vanderbeek.
Almost forgot. It's been a while since I watched it that Will Ferrell was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always brings like his friends or like people that were in previous things. Like he'll bring them back for some things.
Mark Hamill was in this movie.
Mark Hamill was in it.
Carrie Fisher's in this movie.
Yep.
It's got just tons and tons of people in it.
Tons of pop culture like icons.
Yeah, like the girl gang in this is Shannon Elizabeth from American Pie, and then like his what's her name that was in like Bring It On.
Oh yeah.
Elijah Dushku.
Yep. Yeah.
And one of the other girls is his wife, Kevin Smith's wife.
Yeah.
Like Jennifer Schwalbach is in this.
Who a lot of those people came back for the new movie, which I still gotta watch. I still have not. I really should have grabbed that at the thrift store, but for me, like I knew after watching that, even though I am a big Kevin Smith fan, I said I'm not going to collect movies again, and I want to kind of stick to, because I got out of hand with the collecting before. But I'll watch it. And I wonder if it's on anything streaming yet, because that's good enough for me. The new one.
Yeah.
What's it streaming on?
I can't remember. It was
yeah,
on.
That's good enough for me. Like I said, I'm not going to, and if it's video game related, I'll grab it. But or it's got to be super nostalgic. It's got to be overly nostalgic for me. Like I had it as a kid and watched it over and over. But
yeah, my favorite part about like the new Jalen Silent Bob movie is just like basically they're going to stop the reboot.
Yep.
So it's like this movie.
It's this movie again.
Rebooted. It's like they just redid
the
this
reboot
movie
of this movie.
Yeah.
A reboot of a reboot of a reboot.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. And can I say, like, I'm not a fan. This is a phenomenal movie and one that's pretty important to me for movies. But I still like Clerks better.
Really?
I'm still a bigger Clerks fan. Yeah.
I would
One
say
and two. One and two.
Dogma and Mallrats are
Dogma is my favorite.
Yeah.
Kevin
Dogma and
Smith.
Mallrats my favorites, and then this one.
I think for me, it's probably Chasing Amy, then Dogma, and I do like Jersey Girl a lot, and I saw it in the theater. Yeah, so I really do like Jersey Girl. That's a different style movie for Kevin Smith, but his what?
It gets crazier. Like
his best movie is the Bruce Willis movie.
A Cop Out?
Yeah, Cop Out is
man.
the greatest movie of all time. Now, let me just say that is Kevin Smith's worst movie. Actually, that's a lie.
No,
I lied. No, he's got worse movies.
Tusk?
Yeah, listen. The other one's worse than that after that. The movie after that. With the little things coming out like yoga hers. Yeah. That movie, listen, that movie is horrible. I couldn't, so bad, as a Kevin Smith fan, I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
I at least finished Tusk. It's not good. But for me, like, the horror thing they were trying to do with Human Centipede, I'm into that stuff. So it was, like, doable, but it was, like, a dumb, like, not a good kind of dumb either. It was, like, dumb, but it was...
What's crazy
is bad, but Cop Out's bad, too.
So Tusk was written on a podcast. I can't remember if it was one podcast or two podcasts.
He talked about it for a long time.
He developed this
a long
movie.
Time.
He developed this movie through his podcast.
I believe that. He talked about it forever.
Talked it out, and then he made
But he did with Yoga Hosers, too. If you
horrible.
watch Fat Man on Batman, he talked about Yoga Hosers for a long time. So.
Johnny Depp is in it, and he's got, like, a penis on his face.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I think I did. I turned the movie off.
It's like he has a prosthetic on his face. Like, he literally did that on purpose.
And you know what's wild is, like, Kevin Smith was taught, and this is fact, saying, like, this was his favorite movie he was ever making. Like, this was everything that he wanted to do, where he had full control. And I'm like, my guy, you had full control of Clerks 1.
Wow.
Like, that was your movie. Now, Clerks 2, but Clerks 1, that was fully independent.
Yeah, but he had only control of to, like, a couple $1,000 they can take out on his credit card.
Clerks, it wasn't, like, anything crazy. The first Clerks?
He was limited to what he could do, money-wise.
Like, yeah, well, okay, and then Yoga Hosers, he wasn't, and it was worse.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yoga Hosers, he had money. Like, he still had investors for that movie. But, yeah, he was talking that one out for a while, too, on the podcast. Like, Fat Man on Batman, like, I was actively listening to podcasts before that movie came out, and he was just talking it up, and he did on Hollywood Babylon before, too, man. So, hey, it is what it is. But, next one, probably, I kind of put these in a sort of order. This one is nostalgic, very nostalgic. One of the best movies ever, and, just... I still tear up when I watch it. That's Super Mario Brothers movie, the original one. And really, this is the only one that you need to see.
Yeah, it's like, that's the only one they made, though.
I mean, it has eye-popping special effects, literally.
Yeah.
If you remember the Koopa in the movie, the Goomba in the movie, his eyes pop out. No, not realistically. Not a great movie, but being like a B movie fan, like, I can still, like, watch and appreciate it. The Goombas are still horrifying. But I don't know what it is. Like, you're looking at, I mean, it's
those
just
heads.
something about those heads being so small and such
Yeah.
a big body that's very obscured and weird. It gives me Puppet Master vibes. I don't know if you know the one puppet, but like he's just like that, but even wider with a small head. But yeah, it's a wild movie. Just nostalgic from childhood though. Like I at that point in time was scared of the Goomba, but I remember as a kid enjoying this, and I also remember it was like not a thing to have a video game movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
I mean, like,
one thing I remember about this was just wanting to like it so much.
Yeah, wanting to like it, and like it was, you can go back and see it in like Nintendo Powers and like different stuff advertised. So it was like a pretty big deal, and Nintendo really had their hand in well, they had their money in it. Their hand, not so much, but Miyamoto has since like talked about this movie and like his sort of thoughts on it, and we've since gotten a great Mario movie.
Yeah,
thankfully. But like, you know what's really nostalgic for this for me was I had books on this back in the day as a kid. I think I might have talked about it on the podcast before, but I have one, like, I would get horrified when the Goomba was on a page, like, all blown up, and it was, like, even looking at it with a flashlight in bed, like, man, I was, as a kid, obsessed. Anything video game related, but wasn't the video game itself, it was, like, a big deal. You know what I mean? So, that's why Pokemon was a big deal. That's why, Sonic, the Sonic shows, like Sonic Underground and, like, the original, those were such a big deal to me because it was like
the toys. Did you ever see the toys?
Yes, yeah, I had. I had Bowser, who wasn't really Bowser. It was really just the general figure, essentially. Well, I forget what the guy's name. Dennis Hopper played him. So yeah, it was wild. I'd love to collect those figures again, but I want them sealed just because they're so bad that like they're hard to stand up. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Yeah. But you can't keep them standing up and stuff, so...
I have a few that are kind of like that, where it's like, they kind of just like...
They just fall.
They have the weight. They have this weird distribution of weight, and they have like no hips.
Yeah, so
they
it's
have like this weird angle. They just kind of fall
Exactly.
forward.
You can't bend them to like, try to keep them up or anything like that, so... Definitely, I would like to find those sealed at some point.
Yeah, I've actually seen a few people find this movie sealed. So, I mean, it's...
Wait. Oh, I meant the figures, but right. Yeah, that's sealed too. I
meant like just like to put this on display because it's like this is not an expensive movie. But I have seen this. This is one of those like kind of common movies that you see sealed sometimes. It's like because
I don't ever see that. Even just the VHS, I haven't found it again yet. So
yeah, that's one of those ones where like I want to say 2 years ago I was looking for the Mario movie. Not because like I just with my video game stuff and like I couldn't find it. Right. And then, like since then I found it a ton of times.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. So the next up is like kind of what I was talking about earlier was like with the price of like.
Yeah.
So this one has actually been in our collection for a really long time, and I do have like an alternate copy that I have sealed upstairs that I found like at a yard sale that I paid like $0.25 for.
Huh.
But it's more of the common release where like this one was like one that we actually ordered from like MCM Home Video like direct from them. This movie was like almost $200, and it was like near impossible to find. And we had to order it out of a catalog. But my pick is gonna be Slapshot, which is from the '70s. It stars Paul Newman. It's a hockey movie. Yep. He's basically he's a player coach. He's the player coach of the Charleston Chiefs, which is like a ragtag like hockey team.
It's always a ragtag team for every movie, isn't it?
This is like, and the funny part is like this is based off of like a true story.
Oh, okay.
And the team
Good News Bears.
The bad, the team bad back in the day, the really crappy team, where they talk about where they trade like a washing machine for a player or something like that. It was like that really happened. You're talking about the Johnstown. I want to say the Johnstown Jets was the hockey team. Out of Johnstown.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Johnstown what?
It wasn't Johnstown, Ohio, but it was Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And the guy that like wrote this movie was like a writer for like the sports team and stuff like that, and like got to write for them a lot of times. But man, they were bad. And one of the best parts is like after this movie, the team in Johnstown changed the name of their team to the Chiefs. Like and for like. Okay. From this movie. So, like, instead of they were the Johnstown Jets, I think, and then they became the Charleston Chiefs. But then...
And you said this is worth $200 right now?
No, this was $200 back in
Oh
the
yeah.
We literally bought this new at $200, but like you could find it for like $5 shipped off eBay.
You guys bought it new? Your family paid $200 for a movie?
Yeah.
Well, you cheated me Christmas.
Yeah.
What?
We paid a ton of money for that back in the day. It was like a ton of money. Maybe it was $100, but for a kid, you're talking about.
I can remember. Oh God, what's Major League Baseball? That was super expensive when that first one came out.
See, that's like all of them. Like all the movies back early on.
Yeah, no, they all. I do remember. Yeah, I actively remember them being very expensive.
But I think like,
even like when Blu-ray was new.
Yeah.
When I worked at Blockbuster, when they would order the Blu-rays, like get the order from Blockbuster or from like their distributor, they were pricey, man.
Yeah.
Like, and HD DVD, when those first came out, they were both competing. Like, they were incredibly expensive. Blu-ray was more money than HD DVDs. So, like, that's why people thought they were going to lose out. But then, you know, obviously the PlayStation 3 came along. But, yeah, man, every format that drops, it's always expensive when it first comes out. Laserdisc was incredibly expensive. Betamax was super expensive. Super VHS was super expensive. All those really were, so...
Yeah, so like the one I have upstairs is sealed. It still has like the $9.99 Best Buy price tag on it. So eventually it was like a cheap VHS and it was available at Best Buy.
And John Lennon's even in it. That's crazy.
So it does. So that's the best. That's one of the cool things is like the Hanson brothers. You ever seen those like guys with the glasses that are fighting at the hockey games and stuff? They were still playing up until a couple years ago.
Really?
But this is like the movie that they came from. It was like
how old were they?
Right?
Jesus, yeah, they were in
that's
that.
the thing. It was like amateur, like minor league hockey. I'm gonna say amateur, minor league hockey because I'm sure they get like a hot dog and a beer, so they're pros. Minor league hockey is like insane. You like Paul Newman is like not a young pup in this movie. He's like a player coach. He's like one of the coaches. He's like the coach and a player on the team. So like that's kind of like the way they roll, and when it comes to minor league hockey, and that's kind of the way they roll in Johnstown, PA, for sure.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the next one I grabbed, you know, from your collection to sort of talk about, kind of funny one too. Right nearing the end of the original Pokemon saga, not grabbing it as this specific one, but this was leading into when the movie came out. The specific actual VHS release. In fact, it's got the actual Mewtwo on the back from the movie. But yeah, no. So Pokemon on VHS. Pokemon, all the VHS tapes, and this is one that I actively want to collect all the VHS for. Mm-hmm. I want to get all of them, all the movies and all the episodes, all the Pokemon's on VHS, all the way up to what they had. I remember Gold and Silver's on VHS, and it came in those hard clamshells, which I love those.
Yeah, there's like a couple different types of cases when it came to this.
Those hard clamshells are a lot less common.
Yeah.
But all of Pokemon Gold and Silver came in those, and they actually came in gold and silver clamshells, which was really cool.
Yep.
So yeah, I got those, you know, when those were new. But Pokemon period, you know, VHS, they just take me back. Like if there's any VHS tapes in general that when I see really takes me back to that era for me, it's Pokemon. You know, obviously there's tons of great stuff, but for me, like as a kid, like this was it. Pokemon was everything to me as a kid. When this dropped, you know, in '98, and the show dropped, and I remember watching the first episode when it premiered in the United States. I was sold. So it just takes me back to like a better time, takes me back to a simpler time. It just takes me back to being a kid. So that's just looking at them is nostalgic enough for me to get that, you know, feeling for a minute. So I love it.
Yeah, I had a friend growing up, and his mom was actually into anime and VHS, and she had Pokemon, Dragon Ball.
Ranma half was a big one.
Yeah, and then there was a whole nother bit, like, I just remember the colors, because, like, so Pokemon had, like, this one, and then, like, a red.
Red, yep, it was red and yellow for all these.
And then gold and silver.
Yep.
And then
they were always like, color themed.
Yeah, and they, like, and the Dragon Ball one, like, you had Dragon Ball Z and GT.
Yeah, Z was always orange.
Yeah, and then GT was another, like...
Red, and, yep.
And so they were really like pleasing to the eye for sure.
Very
There's
much
just
so.
tons of them on the like, and then we weren't.
That's
allowed
a
to
big
touch
reason for wanting to get these too. Is just like it looks cool, but also like if there's anything I can collect VHS that's nostalgic enough for me to make the room for VHS again, it's these. So
Yeah, have you ever seen Tendo's toy room? Essentially, he's got
Tendo
he's got like well, not his toy room, but his like
game room.
his game room and like his filming room, or like it's all yellow. His was like yellow shelving, and he has tons of these.
Really?
Like he collects these, and so like it's really cool because you have like yellow
Tendo's
shelving.
trash.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you have like yellow shelving, and then you have like all those yellow cases. And
That
stuff
big
like
guy that
Yeah.
we met the other day.
Yeah, it's framing up those Nintendo powers.
Yeah, tearing them up is
Yeah.
more like it. I'm still mad at him about that.
Those things are great.
Yeah, they do look great, but stop tearing up the Nintendo power.
So my final pick is going to be actually my favorite movie of all time. It's going to be The Sandlot.
I
on
thought it
VHS.
was something else. You told me about another movie that was your favorite of all time.
It was Beaches.
Was it?
Yeah.
So you have two favorites of all time?
No. So my favorite movie of all time, without a doubt, was The Sandlot. In fact, like I have the whole Sandlot pop vinyl set up on the wall,
Disgusting.
including like the
Disgusting Funko
the
collector.
Beast. I got the Beast on. I don't have a ton of Funko anymore. I at one point had a ton.
Meanwhile, there's literally Funko all over this room.
I like have 20.
Dude, that's a lot of for the normal person, like a normal adult.
Yeah,
20 is a lot.
20 is a lot.
That's
yeah.
a lot of Funko.
But for somebody who had over 100 and downsized, it's like I'm just gonna keep these ones.
Throw me those Kurt ones then. Those are the only ones I care about.
But I think they're about to have another reunion for this, like the 25th or 30th reunion.
Oh, for another
For
release.
The Sandlot, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just watching one
They
recently.
always do like a new commentary track and
Yeah, this movie is like
it's great.
staple of my childhood.
Yeah, one of the best.
They even made a couple sequels to it that definitely weren't as good.
They were definitely
direct to DVD, direct to video.
I liked two as a kid back
The
in the
third
day.
one was really good. I thought.
Man, I don't remember much about the third one. Definitely saw it, definitely remember it, but don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, Luke Perry.
It was so really?
Yeah, Luke Perry's in it.
Gosh, it's been a long time. It was so unrememberable for me. It was like a throwaway.
Like Squints.
It's like
is back in it.
Dragonheart 5. Like what are you doing, my guy?
Well, the third one, like Squints is in it, like from the original. Plus, they're tying back, and like Benny the Jet is in it, but not the same character. That Squints is the same kid that just so happens was not busy working.
That's when they did like all those direct to video Home Alone sequels.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
They had to do that to everything, man.
yeah. But this is a story from like the early 70s.
Yep.
The kid moves into a new town, doesn't have any friends, goes to the local Sandlot, basically runs into some friends.
Get into mischief.
Yeah, they get into general mischief, tomfoolery. Winnie Peppercorn.
I didn't see my favorite movie of all time up there. That would have been cool to show, but it very much gives me Sandlot vibes. Stand By Me. I think I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But that and Dragonheart, if you would have had either of those VHS, I'd probably grab those. But those are my two. Definitely Stand By Me is number one, but very much gives me Sandlot vibes. It's very much that coming of age sort of story that, you know what I mean? That
Yeah, both are real super iconic too. I mean,
yeah. Nobody talks about Stand By Me anymore, though.
Thankfully,
I don't. Dang.
I'm
Brutal.
joking. That's a good movie. It's one of my favorite about dead bodies.
Literally, the book is called. I didn't know that for many years until I actually read the text on the screen that nobody reads. But yeah, So next one I've got, last one I've got here is the original Halloween. I think probably still to this day the best slasher movie of all time, or at least like suspense slasher where there's like there's tons of intense build up in this, tons of just having Michael do like nothing and being sort of terrifying. The iconic like looking around the bush, like the scenes of him coming into the house, the closet scene, the stairs scene, like all those are like super iconic to this first movie that like still stands today. I mean, like when you see merch, literally saw a Halloween shirt at Walmart the other day. It was literally the stairs scene from this movie, like on the shirt. which is crazy. I was like, ah, man, it's still as iconic and still important to horror and like the slasher genre.
It's been like rebooted twice essentially because
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, because the Rob Zombie, well, not technically rebooted, just Rob Zombie's was, but what they have now is technically a sequel.
Yeah,
but there's like 4 split timelines.
So Jamie Lee Curtis has been in most of them and has died in one,
H2O,
but not the other one.
Resurrection, then now the last 3.
Yeah,
which is a whole nother timeline.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of confusing.
It's very confusing. There's like 4 timelines. It gets convoluted. I'm still a fan of the series in general, although I haven't watched that last movie yet, and like not overly amped to do so because I wasn't necessarily a fan of the 2 right before that. Yep. And it's the same sort of stuff.
But when you go back to the originals and the first couple,
I've seen this movie over 100 times.
Yeah, more reason to go back for the first couple. Which one was the one where Michael Myers isn't even in?
That is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Yep, yeah. Well, he is on the TV for a quick second.
Oh,
you can see him on the TV of the first movie. So, like, he makes a little cameo there. But, yeah, I think that's a good movie. Used to get hate back in the day. Now I think people are more appreciating it, like, for what it is. It should have been a standalone. It should have been its, like, own thing and not titled. But
I know when I was going back and collecting movies and stuff like that, and I keep my horror stuff, especially like Halloween and stuff like that, separate. That one, for some reason, Season of the Witch was like hard to find every way.
Yeah,
like DVD, VHS, everything was like near impossible to find. Like I would find Halloween 1, I'd find it 4 times over on VHS, DVD.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, it just didn't do well. So I probably didn't get a lot of. I don't know about VHS, but I do know on DVD it was out of print real quick. So until that Blu-ray came out, like there was no way to like affordably get the movie for like a long time. So Scream Factory put out that Blu-ray of that, and it was like a big deal. I do remember that because I was collecting horror Blu-ray and DVD at that point in time. But yeah, absolutely an iconic movie and one everybody should watch.
Yeah,
so.
One thing when you have a VHS player too, you have to have is that rewinder.
Yep.
Because after you watch...
We don't have to, but they were convenient.
Oh my
These
gosh.
were expensive back in the day, too.
They were super expensive. And one of those things where it's like when you're watching a VHS, you have it go all the way to the end, that you have to rewind it. And then it would take a really long time.
Why it's, phased out.
Just pop everything in there.
Put in another movie. Or you could just do this before you return your movies, because you got to please be kind and rewind.
And then I'm going to sit there and rewind it and stuff. And then when it was done, it would usually just like
pop
open. It was ready to go.
Yep. Yeah, those are super...
Somebody rewound this one. You know, this has been rewound.
So like... you're telling me you haven't watched that yet?
No, never.
Dang. Yeah, you don't even watch his movies, so that's what I'm saying. This is why I don't collect movies anymore. It's the same thing. And, like, if it was something that, like, I liked but didn't love, I've already seen it probably 5 million times, so I probably won't even pick the VHS up to ever watch it.
What's crazy, though, is, like, I do a lot... I'll often put VHS.
You have another Mario movie over there.
Yeah.
I just saw it.
I come in here pretty often, and like when I'm working and stuff, I will put a VHS in there. And
to rewind it.
Yeah, for months I have the one which is just commercials for Nintendo.
Which is super cool.
That's like 6 hours long, I think. And so a lot of times I literally start my work, and I just push it in. It'll play for 6 hours, and it'll pop out, I'll push it back in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a great episode. It was cool to talk VHS. Not sure what we have up next up our sleeves, but we definitely got a lot like sort of planned. There's some ideas to work out or things we want to talk about. This gives us like, especially here in person, I love this. I love this sort of vibe of doing it this way.
Yeah, there's even more VHS stuff we can kind of get into itself because this is just kind of like our favorite kind of like off the top of our head. Yeah. Because we can get into more depth.
I even just looked at your shelf for like a minute and grabbed. I was like, these are important.
Because these are just iconic type things to talk about. But we can get into more in depth of like top favorite, horror movies or comedy movies or like stoner comedies, and like go into specific genres and stuff like that.
We got to talk Beverly Hills Cop at some point.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we appreciate y'all watching this or listening to this new episode, and we'll have another one out real soon.
Absolutely.
Look forward to seeing you again.
Catch you guys here soon.
Sweet. All right. Hopefully it didn't. Oh no. It's dead.
Are you for real?